Chapter 32 Legendary. Tella had half expected to see Casper or Nigel, or another Legends players, but this young man was fortunate to her. It felt like further confirmation the game had turned very real, or that Tella was on the wrong path. She believed that to win Carvel, all she needed to do was find Mother's deck of destiny, but believing something didn't make it true. Doubt nibbled at her as she stepped inside the Temple of Stars. The man who opened the door really could have been a Carnarian come to life. His arms and legs and the parts of him that Tella could see peeking out from the leather covering his chest and thighs looked more like stone than muscle. Maybe he didn't tower quite as high as the statues outside the sanctuary, but he was taller than Dante. So tall that made Tella tilted her neck to fully see his face. She swallowed a gasp as she caught sight of his cheek. The right side of his face was almost too flawless for his square jaw and his aquiline nose and the dark hole under his upswept eyes. But all Tella saw was that she looked the left half was Brad burned into his cheek. The brutal 8, the pointed star with a symbol in the center made an intricate nose that Tella didn't recognize. She tried to avert her eyes, but she was certain he got her staring. As if to taunt her, he traced the ruthless line of the star with the tip of his finger. But through his face was branded a silver circuit crowned his brow, and a royal blue cloak draped from his right shoulder held in place by a silver pin that matched the signet's ring on the finger he used to trace his cheek. He must have been in a position of power, which only made him more nervous. If the temple was as wicked as everyone said, the severe young man must have done unspeakable things to rise to the top of it. I'm Theron. With one simple bend of his wrist, as if used to having other followers as commands, he bade Tella and Dante walk deeper into the foyer. The ceiling arched above them like a series of interconnected wings, all black with pinpricks of gold clustered together like constellations. Below the octagonal space was primarily filled by a triple tilt fountain that dripped candlelight. The floors were white soapstone, shining among the reflected, glowing gate covering the double doors to the back wall. It felt like the sort of place a person was meant to whisper. Tella had a sudden urge to take off her slippers as if it might soil the spotless floor. Though, for all its shimmer, there was something insidious about this place. More stone statues lined the walls, as lifelike as the others in the front, only they were all frozen with exposure of shock, horror, and pain. One temple is fueled by ancient magic. From the stars, Theron said. The walls beneath are more secure than any in the world, but occasionally full of things they can break in and steal from them. Good thing we're not planning on stealing anything, said Tella. Theron didn't so much as crack a smile. What exactly do you want here? I have a question about. If you're here for the game, we do not possess any clues. Theron cut in. We are also not a tourist attraction like many of the other Bascules. To move beyond the hall and have your question answered, you'll have to prove your motives aren't tainted, and that you truly seek the stars. He led Tella and Dante further to the lone ivory pedestal topped off by the hammered copper bowl, old and battered compared to everything else. For our examination, we require 1 drop of blood. Dante side-eyed Tella, but she didn't even remind her how powerful a drop of blood could be. Dante and Julian had used blood to heal her after the dead queen. Ariane maidens had attacked her, but blood could also be used to steal things, like days. I only need a prick of one finger. Theron held out his right hand, revealing a black banded, stardust-shaped opal ring, sharp enough to slice skin, and bitingly familiar. It looked remarkably like her mother's. Valentine was right. Tella's eyes shot down to her hand. Both ring stones were raw and stardust-shaped, but the color of Theron's was different. The stone was black, with embers of pulsing blue and threads of green. Tella was fiery, glowing lavender surrounded by a center of burning cherry, with a thin line of gold down the middle made it look like a spark about to catch flame. But even before it had shifted colors from her mother's disappearance, it had been much brighter than Theron's. Your ring, Tella asked. If it's just for picking fingers, or does it represent something else? We haven't earned the answer to that question. What if I have a similar ring? Tella held out her hand. Dance's gaze narrowed and landed on Tella's finger. A crease formed between Terran's cold-blind eyes. How did you come into your possession? That was my mother. Is she dead? No. She should not have given that to you. Why not? What does it mean? It means she owes a debt to us that has not been paid. Dante tensed beside Tella. That wasn't good news, but it wasn't better than no information at all. The ring on your finger is the key, Aaron said. If you truly belong to your mother, she must have placed something in our vaults. They can only be retrieved with the ring. However, the color of it signifies it's been cursed. How do I break the curse? The only way is to fulfill their debt. Theron answered flatly. Until that payment is made, the key on your finger will not break or open her vault. Tella? Not the story hinted at a warning, but whatever it was, Tella didn't want to hear it. Her mother had not only been here, but something of hers was in vaults. Maybe it was a deck of destiny Tella needed to find, or maybe it was something else. She could tell Tella more if her mother had before. What does she owe? Tella said. What is she placing in your vaults? I can only answer those questions, said Theron, but the ring can, as the memory activated by blood. If it truly was your mother's, your blood should bring forth a vision of what she promised us. All you need to do is prick your finger on one of its tips and drop the blood in the bowl. Tella, Tony growled. I don't think you should. Tella was already pressing the tip of her finger, her mother's old ring, red pulled, rose petal right, before falling into the copper basin and turning white. Tella held her breath as the milky drop of blood transformed into a fog that reflected the image of a woman standing in front of a bowl, exactly like the one before Tella. But it wasn't just any woman. It was her mother, Paloma. She was older than she looked in the picture. Tella had seen in Valentine's Most Wanted. She appeared to be the same age when she disappeared from Trista, but she looked so much harsher than Tella remembered. There were no hints of her enigmatic smile, no sparkle in her dark eyes. There was a callous version of her mother that Tella was unfamiliar with. In the vision, Paloma was dressed in a sheet like Tella, or if she was, it was concealed by the dark blue cloak she wore. She appeared to be speaking with someone who, however she spoke, was merely a shadow. Paradise the Lost, said the shadow. The voice sounded like smoke come life, thick and heavy and stifling. I thought you swore to never make another virgin with us. Vows are made to broke. Paloma said, apparently spells are too, because the one you place on the cards to conceal them are weak. That's why we suggested putting them in the temple vaults, with the other items we were holding for you. Suggested? Paloma snorted. I thought you said I couldn't put them in my vault. No, we said you would need to pay an extra price. Paloma stiffened. So you do remember, said the voice, and since we are generous, the offer still stands. For the same price as before? Yes, be grateful we are not requiring more to protect such a terrible item. What more could you ask from a mother that to give her your firstborn child? We would ask for your secondborn as well. I never give them to you, Paloma said, but you can have my secondborn. What use to us is your second-born child, said the shadow. Aside from being a pretty ornament, I've seen the future. She possesses great power. If you don't believe me, I have the cards to prove it, though I think we are all better off if I never use them again. And Alma lifted her chin stubbornly. The curse imprisoning the face is losing power. It weakens every time the cards are used. That's not our concern. It should be. My face will escape. Let me use your vaults to hide these cards, and I will search for a way to destroy them. Unless you want this place of worship to become the Temple of the Fallen Star, because I guarantee that if the fates return, it will only allow people to worship them. Shadow's figure appeared and darkened, turning her smoky gray to almost black. Very well, I said at last. Give us your second-born daughter, and we will let you use our vaults to hold your cursed cards. Then Paloma said in a knife that sliced her palm. My daughter. No! Tella knocked the copper bowl from the pedestal, destroying the image before it could show her any more awful things. My mother had no right to do that. Tella shook her head, ripping her fingers through her curls as she backed away. Even if the image is real, I am not hers to give away. And yet, Tyrone said, she already has. It's been pledged in blood. Once you. Tella started running before Theron could finish. He said once you, which made it sound as if Tella had to do something before they could take her. And she didn't plan on allowing that to happen, ever. Tella would never belong to anyone. Theron didn't follow. Maybe that meant it had been a test, and that what she'd seen wasn't real, or maybe he didn't have to follow because people only chased after things they didn't already possess. From the sound of it, Dante did not pursue her either, though Tella didn't spare her so much as look behind her as she raced down the Temple of Star steps, her worthless sheets nearly ripping her haste, but she didn't stop running. Scully had been right. Her mother had been worse than her father. Lacey waited until Scully was of age before selling her off like a goat. Tella's chest had never felt so hollow. She sacrificed everything for her mother, risked her freedom and her life, believing her mother still loved her and needed her. But the truth was, she never cared. Not only had she left Tella, she had given her away like a used dress. Tella could have been kept running, but her slippers were starting to tear, and the roads had turned unfamiliar. Uneven grass, made dark for the night, rubbed against her shoes. Rather than incense and oil, the air smelled of thick pears and tart, airy cinders. With a quick sweep of her eyes, Tella saw temporary sages and theoretical curtains hanging from trees. She stumbled into a pack, but Tella had no idea what part of the city belonged. Not the spice corridor. Everything was far too pretty. From the star vendors, deep-fried confections, dusted with crushed violets of sugar and bejeweled dresses worn by the women, and the shining weapons belt ornamenting the men. Only the wards on the belts did not look real, and neither did the woman's jewels. It seemed she'd run right into the middle of a small festival made of Park Place, or some sort of fair to celebrate the Empress' upcoming birthday. Perhaps were all of attendants not participating in Carvel, curious gaze, moved to her directions, but Tilla doubted anyone would mistake her for one of the performers, unless these peculiar plays involved a human sacrifice. Tilla was just entirely wrong. The women here were all covered up by bell-sleeved gowns with flowing skirts, while Tilla had naked legs and exposed arms. Suddenly she was freezing. Now that she stopped, fatigue hit her like a wave of ice, leaving her shaken and out of breath, without her probably working hard to warm her up. Spying a vendor selling cloaks, Tilla snatched a dark one and looked about her size. "Thieves!" screamed the vendor. Tilla started to spring. "Give them back!" A heavy set of arms knocked her into the ground, and a white chest pressed her into the rough grass. "Get off me!" She tried to wiggle free. "You can have your filthy fabric back." The vendor rode off and yanked his cloak from her shoulders, but he left hand on his neck and squeezed hard and tight until Tilla felt the cords of his throat rubbed together. "Dirty thief!" He heft his face pinned to the ground. "This will teach you not to." "Let her go," roared a voice. The hand was ripped from Tella's neck. The arm was scooping Tella up, pulling her tight to pulling chest, the smell of ink and sweat and fury. "I believe it's against the law to kill someone for borrowing a cloak," Dante snarled at the vendor. Splotches of anger colored the man's bearded face. "She wasn't borrowing it. She stole it." "That's not what it looks like to me," Dante said. "The cloak in your hands now. I never saw it in hers, but I did see you trying to kill her." The vendor sputtered a string of curses. "Give us the government, and I won't have you arrested," Dante said. Tilla could only see his chest from the angle, but she imagined to look like a warrior standing there without a shirt and all his godlike splendor and dressed like a vengeful star just falling from the heavens. "Fine," grumbled the man. "I don't want the soiled thing anymore." "And I'll take one for myself in black," Dante's voice was merciless, a tone Tilla had never heard across his lips, yet everything he did with her was gentle, as tenderly tugged the cape around her bare shoulders and shaking legs. "Are you all right?" he said. Tilla wished she could have nodded or laughed, and teased him for being so concerned, but when she tried to laugh, the sound strangled, and when she attempted to nod, her head fell pathetically on his chest. She didn't want to cry. Neither the filthy vendor nor her mother were worthy of a single tear. But while Tilla could easily shake off the feels of vendor's rough hands, she couldn't do the same with the words her mother had said. Not only had her mother left her, she sold Tilla off. Let's call it. That hadn't even been a consideration. It seemed her mother hadn't even been without love. She just hadn't loved Tilla. More tears fell from Tella's eyes. "I hope she dies." Tilla didn't know if she muttered it or raged it. For years I prayed to any saint who might be listening to please keep her alive until I was able to find her. I wasted all my prayers on her, and she gave me away like a stained rag. But I take it all back. Tilla to shout then. "I take it all back. You can't let her die or rot in the paper prison. I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore." Tilla didn't know how many times she muttered those last 4 words. Dante just kept stroking her hair and her back with his strong, comforting fingers as he continued to carry her. Occasionally, he pressed something in that felt like a kiss to the top of her head, but it wasn't until she felt silent that he finally asked, "Where do you want me to take you?" "Somewhere to forget."